Welcome to the Sponsored Rider Club podcast, your guide to motorsports sponsorship. Here's your host, Josh Weesey.
Welcome to this episode of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast live edition, which is powered by AMSOIL. This is pretty cool. We had Joey Sylvester come back on the show, and we actually recorded it Facebook Live. And the challenge, though, with Facebook Live, there's two things. One, the audio quality is not quite as good when I transferred over into the podcast. And two, sometimes there's some technical difficulties. So we actually ran into an issue where we had to stop the recording, start it over again, and keep rolling with the show. So there's a point here where you'll kind of hear me actually, I'll jump back into the podcast and say, yep, I saved you all the awkwardness of like the 2 or 3 minutes where we couldn't quite get him connected. And then we jump into the interview with Joey. But that's it. I hope you enjoy this. And if you do have questions, comments, or feedback, go ahead and head over to iTunes, leave a rating and review. That would be great. And enjoy the show. Hopefully you guys like my new intro song. I just picked up this guitar the other day from the Guitar Center up the road. It's high quality, nylon strings. It's the latest technology. Put this somewhere. Well, welcome everybody to this episode of the Sponsored Rider Club podcast live edition, which is powered by AMSOIL. And this is actually our 9th installment now of the live series. So I'm really excited to keep these shows coming. And we already got a few people coming on. Shelby Mahan, if you haven't seen her live show, go maybe scroll down on that page when you're done with this one and check it out. She did awesome, and also her audio version is available too. Joey Sylvester, he is the man on the show today. So he is going to be coming on in a little bit, but first I got to do some more intro stuff. But if you're listening right now, and let's say you're on a replay or you're just joining, go ahead and leave a little comment. Share it with your friends. Invite some other folks. Let's see if we can get as many people helped as possible. But I do want to tell you a couple of things about the show. So the intent of this show is to help riders and racers learn how to better market themselves and drive more value for their sponsors. And also another thing that we're trying to change is not viewing it such as a sponsor, but more as a partner. So like, how can you help your sponsors and your become more like partners and really strong people in your relationship. So that's what we're going to talk about too. Today we have a very specific topic though. So Joey is on here, and what we're going to do is discuss how to attract a sponsor versus hunt one. So we're going to talk a lot about that. And Shelby, thanks for the comments too. Hey Shelby, invite some of your friends. Bring them on over. Well, I want to tell you a couple of things too about some of the people who help us in this show. So one of them is AMSOIL. So Joey is actually also sponsored by AMSOIL, so it's pretty cool to have another member of the AMSOIL family on here. But they've been supporting this show for a little while now, and I've been learning more and more about the company, about the number of products that they have available is pretty incredible. I've been running their oils for a long time, and I've been learning more about their oils too. So they did a ton of research and development on those oils, and I think the most interesting thing is how the whole thing started. I shared this in the last live show too, but I think it's just fascinating. The original founder was actually a jet fighter pilot, and he was just so intrigued as to why cars and vehicles on the road didn't use really good oil like the jet planes did. So the jets used fantastic synthetic oils because they needed it, but the cars in the street were struggling to get by. So he basically decided, I'm just going to start my own company, and that's where AMSOIL came. And we're still 40 years later, still rocking it. So really excited to have them on board. And then also GSP XTV Axles, they're sponsors for this live version, and they make incredible stuff. And they've partnered with Bold Racing, who also sponsors the show, and they have some cool stuff coming out. I wish I could tell you more, but just pay attention to GSP XTV and also pay attention to Bold Racing. If you want to know more about that, go ahead and blow up Jimmy Moore's phone or his Facebook page or his Instagram. Just make it rain on his notifications because he has a lot of stuff he wants to talk about. All right, well, welcome. Hey, Scott's on. Travis is on. We got a few more people joining. So, again, if you're just joining right now, invite your friends. share this thing, leave some comments. I really want to know what you're thinking. At the end, we're going to have questions too. So go ahead and type in your questions. We'll answer them later on in the show. If you're listening to replay, go ahead and put hashtag replay. All right. So I'm actually going to start working on adding Joey to the call. All right. So actually at this point in the show, we ran into a ton of issues. I'm going to save you all that awkwardness and take you right to the point where we figured out those technical issues. We got Joey on the show, and actually we were super excited about it. It's pretty fun. So back to the show. We are going to try this again, because last time we had a couple of people watching us just not be able to get Joey on the call. So we are going to try this again. Let's see. Shelby, hey, welcome back. You just really enjoy this. Yours went smooth. It's working this time. Let's see if we can get people back. We got Jake back, Kevin back, Scott back. Look at that. No problem. What's going on?
What's up, man? It went right through that time. I didn't see anything. I got no notification at all.
Hey, who knows? But what we did learn is that sometimes you just got to bail and then climb back on board, start again. So this is a lesson, everybody. If you feel like you're struggling in life, and you're not sure what to do next, maybe you just need to recharge and start over again. See, this is all part of the show, folks. This is all on purpose.
Oh, we got to share this new video.
Yeah, that means we got to share this one up. We got to get people back. But Jake Coleman does these all the time. He's like, sometimes Facebook just decides it just doesn't want to cooperate. And you hit eject. So that's it, folks. Sometimes you got to hit the eject button.
Yeah, I'm going to try to share it here a little bit so we get some people joined in on this one.
And you know what? Everybody now, if you're watching this video, you missed my little intro and you missed my song and dance. So I'm going to get that back. All right, while you're sharing it. This is my little guitar. I'm practicing. I think I got a little Metallica. No? Okay.
That's lame, dude.
Hey, I'm trying. But hey, you know what's not lame? You being on the show. I'm pumped for this, man. You got a lot of fans out there. You got a lot of good advice on sponsorship, and that's what we're talking about today. So first off, glad to have you. What's some words that you kind of have to kind of kick things off for us?
Man, I'm excited about it. Since the last time we talked, and I also have done some stuff with Dirt Collective, talked a lot about my techniques with marketing and branding and stuff like that, and how I've been able to secure partners like AMSOIL, FK Rod, companies that have been with me for a long time, and not only secure them, but keep them happy. Keep them, giving them return for their investment. And I've gotten a lot of people asking me, how do I get more sponsors? How do I, some people they don't know where to start. And it's such it can get very, very complicated if you let it. And I think the title of our podcast here is to sponsor attraction instead of hunting sponsors. Not knocking on doors and sending 100 cold emails out or calling phone, making a bunch of phone calls just to hear 99 no's to maybe one yes. About building your own brand to where the sponsors come to you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like you said it before, we're talking about attracting, not hunting sponsors. And I mean, honestly, like I've talked about this a few times on the podcast before, but this show has been very fortunate to have sponsors coming on board, and they have all reached out to me. It's because I'm trying to put out really good content, and they see it and they want to be a part of it. So yeah, I think a lot of it starts with just having content that adds value for people, or that has and the value is entertainment, right? If you can put out some really good entertaining stuff, some high quality stuff, people are going to flock to it.
Right, that's exactly right. I mean, a lot of racers don't understand that racing is entertainment. The fans are paying to be entertained. A lot of racers get caught up in the competition side of it, and yes, that's important. That's what adds to the entertainment value. But you're there to put on a show. You're there to give people paid for, and that's what gives you that platform to market big companies. you're taking their product and marketing it to a captive audience.
Yep. Yeah, and I just saw a couple of people that are joining too. Thank you for sticking with us through the first rendition of this live show and coming back and leaving your comments. I just want to read a couple of them real quick. Jake Coleman, you're pretty, Joey. Okay, that's very good. So he's paying attention to your looks too. And then Jim Duvall just left a quick comment: to get sponsors, you need to sell your ability to race. And I like the word sell there. That's good stuff. All right, so you've talked a lot about this. Like, you've been on the Dirt Collective podcast. You've been on this show before. You're on episode 68. We talked a lot about that. So what are some of the fundamentals, some of the foundational items that people need to remember when they're trying to build their brand or build their social media or, create good content? What are some of the critical things they need to be considering?
The number one thing is be yourself. Be authentic and be yourself. Don't try to do what anybody else is doing because it's already been done. It's all about being yourself and just being truthful with people. Whether it's sponsors, fans, anything, you want to be authentic and you want to be yourself because you can only fake it for so long.
Right.
I don't whole fake it till you make it phrase. It's all about being yourself and keep pushing forward and doing things that you believe in and what you think is cool. And there's going to be other people out there that follow along with you because of your personality, because of what you do.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds so easy, and we've talked about this in the show before. It sounds so easy, be yourself, right? But it takes time to figure out who you are, right?
I hear it all the time from racers. I've sat in mastermind groups. I've sat in groups of racers, and everybody wants to get more sponsors. Everybody's trying to get more money to fund their racing program, but they don't want to use social media. Or they're like, well, I'm shy. I'm just a country boy. I work on my farm and I race my car on a weekend. You know what? There's a lot of people like that. That's why you need to tell them, that's you. That's what you have to put out there. Don't feel like you need to be some big crazy celebrity in order for people to find you entertaining or helpful. Share your struggles of day-to-day life, of work, of being in business, of racing. People like I said, they like the authenticity. And all this is things that all it does is take a little bit of your time. It doesn't take any money. It takes a little bit of your time and just you getting creative with your own brand and your personality and kind of coming out of your shell a little bit to kind of put forth, just showing people who you are. And those are the kind of fans you're going to attract. And when you attract certain kinds of fans because of your personality, that's when sponsors will come to you based on your personality and your fan base. I'm not going to get a sponsorship probably from a whiskey company because I don't drink. I don't promote drinking. I don't promote partying. I know nothing about alcoholic beverages. So a company like that's probably not going to be suited for my image, my following, and my knowledge. It comes in the form of companies like for instance, right now I have a company called B Tactical on board. They make really badass. I can't say ad word on this slide, huh? They make really good Kydex gun holsters, and I love shooting guns. I'm a proud Second Amendment rights advocate. I carry every day. And they make my life a lot more comfortable to be able to carry a gun every day. So it's something that I use personally every day, and I can promote their product because I actually use it because I understand it. And people know that, well, why is Joe promoting this company that makes gun holsters? He's never shot a gun before in his life. Right. They know I shoot. They know I carry. So it's more authentic for me to promote a company like that. Same way with AMSOIL. Everybody knows that I use AMSOIL products in every single vehicle that I own. Whether it's my lawn tractor, my weed whacker, or my sprint car. I've had it in my semis, my daily driver, my girlfriend's car, because I believe in the product. And I make sure people know that. And I just put it out there. I just show myself working out in the shop or whatever it is. Just, you got to stay on top of it. And these days, social media gives you that platform to build your following, to build your personality. And it's there to use for free.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've talked about Amy Hood on this show before. On her Instagram, I think she has close to 200,000 followers. And if you ever talk to her, and then if you watch her on her social media and the different things, that's just how she is. She's crazy. She's always doing something that's kind of wild. She's in your face, but that's who she is. And it comes across on social media and like it feels natural. And it takes, I said this at the beginning, it takes some time to kind of loosen up some. So like for me, for example, when I first started doing the show, I mean, I was a little uptight, all right? But I mean, now I'm getting into this kind of stuff. Like, this is more me, like kind of a little goofy. Like, I want people to know that that's just kind of how I think of things. But it took me a little bit to break out of my shell. But I think it's important to do. And, I saw somebody made a comment on here too. This is from Jake Coleman. Be yourself. He's a full-time dad. And as far as social media, is it okay to include family? So that's one of his questions. Is it okay to include family? So I do want to open that up to you and see what your thoughts are, and then I have something to add in as well.
And that's entirely up to you.
Yeah.
Not to get too personal, but you want to allow people a certain glimpse into your personal life to a certain extent. Family is absolutely important. If that's important to you, that's what you want to put out there. You want to show yourself with your family having a good time. Obviously, you find where you draw that line as, what you show, what you don't show. But you want to put that out there that you're a family guy. You've got kids. You're struggling with balancing out racing and trying to provide a life for your family. That's a struggle that probably almost every racer in America is gonna relate to, or even fans for that matter. They're trying to raise a family. They're trying to run a career or a business. People will relate to that. So yeah, absolutely. As long as you're cool with it, then I'd say yeah, absolutely promote it for sure.
Yeah, there's one person that I think has done really well at incorporating their family. So that's Jimmy Moore. He's with Bold Racing. You guys have seen him on the show before. And he markets his whole program as a family race program. Like he races with his oldest son. His pit crew manager is his wife. His youngest son is like his pit crew chief. And they operate together. And that's his whole brand is around the family piece. So it works really well for him. Jason Cladd just made a comment too. So my whole family races, so we started our own race team. So yeah, I like what you said, Joey. If it fits in with your brand and what you're trying to promote, do it. And I think that's really good to call that out.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna see if there's any other questions here too, real quick. All right, let's see. So this is from Chad Shoemaker. You as a racer choosing your sponsors. So what do you think about that? His comment is like, you don't want just every sponsor. So you have to at some point make a decision around which sponsors you want. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I mean, that's, and there's a few different factors that could go into that. It could be your own personal morals, your own beliefs, or maybe even a company comes to you that you truly don't feel that fits your brand, that you would really be able to authentically promote their company and promote their brand. So there's a couple of different factors that go into that. You don't want to just take money just because it's there, because, on the flip side, there could be other partners that don't want to be involved because, say, you're involved, say, I don't know, throwing this out, say it was an adult nightclub. To some other sponsors. So just maybe because money here, you may be closing the door for a lot of money somewhere else. Plus, maybe there's some families that look up to you, some little kids, and that may not be the best image. If that's your image, fine. If that's what you put out there and that's what you're known for, then by all means, take it, promote it. But it has to. You can authentically promote. I have turned down marketing partnerships with companies because I truly feel that what they do, not for any moral beliefs or anything like that. I just, with my following, with whether it was monster trucks or dirt track racing, I don't feel that it was the right demographic for them. I feel like I would just be taking their money as a donation and they would see no return on it. And that doesn't look good, because then next year they're not going to come back. And if, maybe some other sponsors would go and ask them, well, we see you are a partner with Joey Sylvester Motorsports. What did you get out of it? And they say nothing and didn't do anything for us. That doesn't look good either. So just because the money right now comes knocking doesn't necessarily mean it's the best thing. You have to make sure that you are definitely going to be able to provide a return for that company and give them their money's worth. So I'm knocking on your door again next year saying you did a great job for it. thank you. And that only will come from you being firmly believing in their product and being authentic in the way you promote it.
Yeah, definitely. One other comment I just saw here from Zachary Miller. So he was just put on here, he says he has autism spectrum disorder, Asperger's, ADD, and a couple of challenges that he's faced. Zach, one of my comments to you is there's other people out there that are probably excited about this stuff that have some of your same challenges. So share your journey. Like Scott Sparrow, he's on here. One of the things that he's done to promote his show is he said, hey, I'm sharing my journey. I don't know exactly what kind of content I want to create. I want my audience to help me. So Zach, if you're listening, still, like if that's something that you're struggling with, somebody else is too in the world. So share your story, get it out there. You'll probably be able to bring somebody along your journey. And who knows, maybe you'll land something in the Monster Jam world or with monster trucks or NHRA around those things you like. Maybe someone will discover you and help you out. So I definitely encourage that.
Right, exactly. You don't want to like go at it and say, well, I'm this type of person and this is my plan of how I'm going to promote it. You just be yourself. It's on your mind and you put it out there. If it's your day-to-day routine, you put it out there. And along the way, you'll find ways that work for you. Is it, your personality? Are you funny? There's a lot of things that you'll find through the process, but don't get discouraged if you're not very good at it right away. Not many people are good in front of the camera or are good at posting pictures of their life or telling a story. And like I said, I've seen it. I've tried to help, racers or offer advice to people. And I tell them, you have to do this. And you can't just do it once or twice and expect, doors to open. It takes a long time to build this following. And you truly have to be unique with it. So you want to be, as much yourself as possible.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so Jake Coleman, this has got to be a tough question here, so let's throw it out there. So Jake said, I have 2 separate brands and would like to get a sponsor that aligns with both. Is that a fantasy?
2 separate brands, like you have a personal brand and then like a business brand, or?
I know he's got a podcast. Jake, feel free to chime in too if you got other notes if you're still watching. But yeah, I think what he's talking about is 2 different products that he markets ultimately, and they might not be the same thing.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what he's asking. They're like 2 different, because you can be a brand yourself. Like my brand, like High Octane Coffee. It's its own brand, but I make sure that everybody knows that it's me behind the brand. And I've got my Instagram, my Facebook that has a lot more racing and a little bit about my business. And then I've got the High Octane stuff that I build separately, but they coincide with each other.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and he just put 2 podcasts, boat and then off-road. Yeah, so it kind of, I think it's somewhat similar, but yeah, 2 separate podcasts.
Similarities between people that are in the boating industry and people that are in the off-road industry. I would imagine they're probably very similar demographics. As far as getting to be able to approach that for a marketing partner, say, hey, I have two different podcasts where I can promote your product with very similar demographics, but not so similar that you're going to get the same people in the boating industry as you are in the off-road industry. So that it could be, I don't see any reason why you couldn't utilize both of those.
Yeah, I mean, Jake, I'm just looking at the hats that Joey and I are wearing right now, AMSOIL. I mean, they make products for marine and for off-road. So, I mean, it's definitely not a fantasy. I think part of it is that whole sales pitch. You have 2 separate demographics. You can target a different link, say to one, hey, I'm going to put AMSOIL.com/boat out there for the boat podcast, AMSOIL.com/offroad for the off-road podcast. And then AMSOIL could then track the demographics or track the response rates and say, okay, I'm seeing much more from the boat side. Maybe I'm going to funnel more marketing dollars that way or vice versa.
Right, I could see that.
That's a very good question. I think there's probably a lot of people out there that have similar questions around that because, Joe, you just gave an example of the High Octane Coffee and your own personal racing brand. I know for myself, Impact Fuel and then Sponsored Rider Club podcast. And actually, so just so people know a little bit more about that specific question, Bold Racing has been sponsoring both Impact Fuel and the podcast for quite some time, and Leaders RPM sponsored both as well. So it does exist where you can have sponsors that cross over, but not everybody wanted to do that. That sponsored my shows before.
Yeah, well, everybody knows that I've raced everything with wheels pretty much at this point. And there was a time when I was racing monster trucks during the winter, and I was racing short course off road in the summertime, and pretty much all my partners were just part of my team overall. They got, I actually had my Pro Light and my monster truck on display at SEMA. All had the same partners. Trucks were wrapped the same. Similar demographics, but not exactly the same. Obviously, two completely different vehicles. But it was beneficial for me to be able to offer that to my marketing partners that year, because they got, during the winter months when there was no off-road racing going on, they had marketing going on with monster trucks. Then in the summertime, they had both. They had monster trucks and they had off-road.
Yeah, it's very good. Well, this has been.
I scroll by and I can't see what he's saying, but he's a really good dude marketing his product. He's a wheel UTVs, and as a welder, I definitely appreciate his fabrication abilities that he does with his Crash Addict industry. So, questions he asked, but I see his name pop up a couple times.
Actually, I'm gonna read his question. It's probably our last one, but yeah, just another shout out to Travis. He was on this show before. I think it was episode 43, although the numbers are starting to mix up now. And then he was also on the first ever live version of the show, so he kind of kicks off. And he's been sponsoring the podcast for a little while with Crash Addict Industries. So grateful to have Travis on here. But his question here is, have you ever done a handshake deal with a sponsor at the beginning of the year and halfway through the year received a better offer and took that offer because it wasn't necessarily a contract? So that's definitely a challenging question, but
no,
yeah.
But I mean, I'm an old soul. I'm an old school values kind of person, and you could probably ask anybody who joins on here that's ever had any kind of business dealing with me or sponsor or a personal relationship. If I shake your hand and look you in the eye, I'm not going to go for any amount of money. And I've turned down opportunities based on a handshake deal that I had in the past that I honored because it was my word, and I believe that will come back around. And because nobody that's just bad business all the way around to do a handshake deal over here with somebody. Then you promise them something, and then somebody else comes with a bigger paycheck and offers you another deal. It's there's a point where you have to say, the money's not worth my name.
Yeah, it's definitely a short-term win maybe, but long-term it's going to create some challenges. One of the things we've talked about on the show too is, let's say you don't really get along that great with a particular person at a business that's sponsoring you, and you just upset them. You say something rude to them, whatever it is. Well, you got to remember those people switch jobs too, and then they talk to everybody else. The motorsports community, it's pretty small, especially with social media. Social media made it really tiny, so it's very easy for one burned bridge to turn into hundreds of burned bridges, just like that.
I've had my partners that I have been with me, like I said, through pretty much everything I've raced, and they've told me, we partner with you, your brand, and we know that you race, you're going to promote our brand properly. And on the same token, I've had reps from companies move to other companies and want to be involved with me because we already had that personal relationship. And at that point, it's, you have to see what aligns with your brand. Obviously, it doesn't look good when you jump from company to company. But if your contract is up, your contract is up. And if, you had a personal relationship with a rep from another company and they come to you and say, hey, I'm working for this company now, love to be part of your program again. This is what we can do. So that, business is business and personal is personal. You can't let, even if you don't have a great personal relationship with somebody in business, that's fine, as long as you keep on with them and everybody's doing each other. You're doing your job and they're doing their job.
Yeah, and if you're listening right now and you have not run into a handshake scenario yet, it is coming. It's very common. I know there's a lot of them. Yeah, they happen all the time. I've got them right and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with the handshake deal. That just means now that you have some personal accountability that you have to remember. You're not going to be able to read off the contract and know what you committed to. You're going to have a good line of communication, and they will remember that. Even if you didn't write it down, they're going to remember.
A question there, Tim Jekyll. How do you get more out of a sponsor than parts or discounts? Well, that's up to you, my friend. What are you doing? If I'm XYZ company and I'm supplying you parts and you want more than parts, what are you doing to provide a return on my investment? What are you doing to sell me more? One thing that I could say about going into the sponsorship aspect of this business of racing is you need to look at it as if you were the business owner and you've got a very, very small budget, if any at all, whether it's product or what's product and money, whatever your budget is for marketing. And it's very, very important that those marketing dollars work for you, especially if you're a new company. So you need to put yourself in that company's shoes and say, what would I look for out of a racer to help me with my company? Because contrary to some people's belief, sponsors aren't in this just to throw money around and use a tax write-off. Like I've seen so many people sponsor proposals like that, like, hey, pay me some money and I'll put you a sticker on my car, and by the way, you can write it off on your taxes. No, I didn't know that as a business owner that I could on my taxes. Thank you for pointing that out. That is that email or delete that message that somebody sent me, because it clearly shows that they know nothing about marketing, nor do they care to market your product. I market AMSOIL, FK Rod Ends, Lincoln Welders, Complete Pest Solutions, Be Tactical, all these companies that I market, Skivvy Underwear, because I love their product and I truly want to see their company succeed. I'm not just looking for a quick paycheck to go buy tires for my sprint next weekend. I truly care about their product and I love the people that are involved. And I could tell you the stories of all the people that are involved in the companies. Like I told you the story about AMSOIL and FK Rod Ends. Skivvy Underwear Company, they've got such a cool business model. They're a new company owned by a group of people in the action sports world, and a guy that is, I believe he's the drummer, I think he is, for Pennywise, which is one of my favorite bands. So there's such a cool story to these companies. I want to see these companies flourish, and I'm going to do whatever I can in my power to make them succeed. So I think his name was Jack. That's what you need to ask yourself. Is this company that's giving me these parts, what can I do for them that's going to make their business double next year? What can I do for this company to add value that they're going to come back to me next year? You're not going to have to ask for it. They're going to come back to you and say, man, Jack, you did a great job for us last year. We gave you a little bit of parts. Our business is doing well, and we want to support the people that supported us from the beginning. Here's a few dollars towards your program. And I've had companies do that. I've had companies that were parts only for many years. And then out of nowhere, they said, hey, we're going to send you some money this year. They didn't ask for a proposal. They didn't ask for what they were going to get out of it, because I already proved myself over 4 or 5 years of what I was going to do for them. So they knew what they were getting. And they came to me and said, we're going to give you more this year. We want to see you succeed. Helped us. You've been a great ambassador for our brand. So that's what you have to do. You don't want to ask yourself, how is this company going to give me more money, or what, or, you ask yourself, how are you going to earn that money from that company?
Yeah, and definitely do something that you haven't seen done, or do something that they haven't asked for, right? That's what your point is, right? Do something that they haven't asked for, whether it's a video that you created with their product, whether it's funny or informative or, value added or entertaining. That might be cool. Or, I don't know, do your own little podcast series. I don't know, swing from the trees and shout it at the rooftops. I don't know. Do something that you haven't seen done before. Give that a shot.
The night car shows at my coffee shop at High Octane, and I've got a lot of giveaway products from like FK Rod Ends. They gave me a whole bunch of cool stuff to give away to people for promo, and they didn't ask to give them away at my car shows, but I do. We do trivia questions and stuff like that, and I give some product away. I've done it for Moto Metals wheels, and again, that's not something that they asked for, but they sent me this product trusting that I would do the right thing with it, that I wouldn't just give it to all my buddies, and say, hey, I got all this free stuff from my sponsor. You guys want? No, I promote it and I say, hey, we're going to have some free Moto Metal stuff. We're going to have some free FK Rod End stuff tonight if you answer these trivia questions at the car show. So those are just, that's just in one of the ways that I did it. We were at a car show this weekend. We raced Saturday night at Fremont. We were up early in the morning on Saturday morning. We went to a car show that was halfway between the shop and the racetrack, and we set up. We sold coffee, and I had a bunch of stuff I gave away for FK Rod Ends. I had chapstick and some different little markers and stuff. I had my AMSOIL rug next to the car so people could take pictures with it. So just, you get kind of creative with it, and you, like I said, you have to put yourself in their shoes and ask them what would they want to see out of you to justify what they're giving you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Tim, that was a great question, man, because so many people think about that. That's actually one thing that we talked about a little bit more, too, in the very first episode with Travis. We more took it around the lines of, how do you go from, parts to paid, but it's some of the same topics there. So great question. If anybody's sitting there thinking of something, if there's one person thinking of the question, there's probably 100 others. So ask that question. Well,
here for.
Yeah, exactly. Well, guys, this has been phenomenal. We went a little bit over the time tonight, and we actually produced 2 episodes. First one was a bust. Second one was a success, I think. But Joey, I think we're gonna start wrapping things up. Is there anything that you kind of want to say to the audience to close things out?
Just be real, man. That's the key. I mean, I think we kind of strayed a little bit away from the topic of this podcast, and that was hug sponsors instead of hunt them, because nowadays the hunting just doesn't work. They need to believe in you, and they're not going to believe in you because you paid somebody to put together a really good proposal for them. They're going to believe in you by what they see on social media, which, as of up until a few years ago, wasn't really anything that you could utilize, or it wasn't even around. Now you have this tool that is putting the whole world at your fingertips. And I mean, think about it. There's people out there getting paid and getting product thrown at them that, I don't know, I guess don't really even have a talent. They just have a following because they've said a few good things or whatever. They don't race. They're not a celebrity of any sort. They haven't contributed to society in any way, shape, or form. They just have a big following on social media, and they're getting paid for it. You as a racer actually have something. You're doing something that no matter how your lows get in racing, you're out in the shop at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, you had a crappy weekend, the car's all wadded up, and you're wondering why you're doing it. You know what? There's a lot of people that still want to be in your shoes. So there's a lot of people that can't race or can't afford to race or don't know how to drive that would love to be in your shoes. So you always want to kind of remember that, and that's what you have over these people that haven't really done anything. And I'm a firm believer in motivating people to go out and do cool stuff themselves. And I think the more people you can help, the better you're going to feel about yourself. The more people you can inspire to go out and do what it is that you're doing, the better you're going to feel about yourself. And when you feel good about yourself, all that confidence comes on social media and on the microphone at the track, and you may wander up into the stands and give a shirt to a little kid or take some pictures of fans. I hear so many racers all the time. They don't like the fan appreciation night or something like that. You know what? If those fans weren't in the stands paying to watch you, what sense is there even going to the track? You might as well just race in the backyard with your buddies. So you have to understand that those are the people that are buying your sponsor's product. So those are the people you need to entertain. Those are the people you need to engage with. And social media is such a strong tool to do this with. And then you go to the track, and people, I get it all the time. People are like, oh, I follow you on Instagram. I'm so glad to meet you. So, and it's so cool to see that. And it's so easy to reach these people because of social media. And that's where you have to really use it to your advantage and stay consistent with it, because it doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long time. It takes a lot of personality. It takes a lot of different creative things to do. And like I said, don't get frustrated if you're not good at it at first. Nobody was. I wasn't good at Instagram at first. I'm still don't think I'm all that great at it. You just have to be real with people, and people will relate to that. And that's how you attract sponsors, by being yourself and building a following, building a tribe that go to the racetrack and follow you, not because you won. You know what? You're only going to win 20 races, and you're not going to win them all. So when you're dead last, you still need to have the same personality. You still need to have these fans that follow you because of who you are or what you did to them, or because you took a few minutes of your time to make them feel special, or make them feel welcome, that they came and spent their hard-earned dollar to buy tickets to the race that night, or buy tickets to the Monster Truck show that night. You make sure that they go home knowing your name, and that is how you attract sponsors. You're not going to go hunt down these sponsors and with this long mantra of races that you won, but you have no fans to show for it. So, you know, the winning the races doesn't sell a company's product. Your personality, you treat people, is what's going to sell the products.
Definitely. Well said, man. Well said. And it seems like there's several people who agree with you as you were closing things out there too. So I'll just kind of leave this last note for folks. If you're listening to replay, go ahead and put #replay and drop a question after the fact too. We might be able to go back through and answer those things. We'll try to get through all the questions that we missed too. But really appreciate everybody taking the time. Joey, I really appreciate you hanging in there, just some of the technical difficulties, and knocking out an awesome show.
I guess I enjoyed. It's a lot of fun to offer advice in my experience, and I don't think I know it all. I'm always learning, but I do feel like I have some knowledge of all the years that I've done with racing and sponsors. I do feel like I've gained some knowledge that can also help some other people, secure funding and secure partners that are going to invest in their brand, in their race program. Because let's face it, racing ain't getting any cheaper. No matter if you're racing a mud, awesome dude, or you're racing a sprint car, a late model stock car, motorcycle, snowmobiles, whatever it is, it ain't cheap. So you have ways to make sure that you can fund your program and excel at it, and that comes from sponsors. So you got to have the right tools to make it happen. I try to help as many people as I can. People message me on Instagram, Joey Sylvester 8, my Facebook fan page, also Joey Sylvester 8. This is I think through my personal page, so I don't think I'll be able to answer too much because I'm maxed out on my personal page. But you hit me up on Instagram. I'm on Instagram all the time. I promise you, it may take me a little while, but I will get back to you. I try to answer questions, give advice, do some motivational stuff. If you see me not post for a couple of days or something like that, that's another thing too with social media is don't feel like you always need to have something. Try to save some cool stuff for a rainy day, but if you don't feel like posting 1 day or 2 days because you don't have anything good and authentic to post, then don't. Make sure that what you post is quality, and it is stuff that you want, is representing your brand well, and is going to make people want to keep coming back to your profile and seeing what you're going to post tomorrow.
Very good point. Very good point. Awesome. Well, hey, you guys take care and have fun and ride safe.